is beginning. The beginning of the end, so to speak. The last spot to BlizzCon will go to one of these two players, and we're going to kick things off with what looks like to be an opening mirror match here.
This is handlock versus handlock. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Cool.
Tides has a big game hunter.
That certainly helps. And Jiraxis. Not something you want to see in your opening hand, but it is an MVP of this matchup and of this mirror, too. So we'll see how this goes. Man, I haven't seen handlock versus handlock for quite a while, I guess. Well, maybe some last week, but beyond that, not too much. Certainly not in this tournament.
Notice for Tarei, he actually has a Sylvanas in his hand.
Yeah.
That is something you don't always see. It is a card that can break some of the control mirrors sometimes. It can be really difficult to play around, and I wonder if it will be a factor in this game.
Certainly could be. I mean, Sylvanas is one of those cards, too, where if you can grab a giant at the right time, that can really turn things around. And it may be something that Tides isn't necessarily expecting, too, because it's certainly not in every control or every handlock deck right now.
That's right. And he's deciding now. He has both Twilight Drake and Mountain Giant as choices. So does Tides. Both of these players have it. He looks like he might pick the Mountain Giant.
Yeah, tries
it's really
to get off to a stronger start.
You know, BGH is run less than Silence. Usually these Warlock players have 2 of the Silence.
Sure.
But in this case, there's no Silence in Tides' hand, but there is a BGH. So I wonder if he'll choose the Mountain Giant here. He keeps grabbing it, but he's going back and forth.
You know, as a general rule, if I feel like if you don't know which to play, you err on the side of Twilight Drake. You know, it's generally the safer one to go with, and he does go with that too. It's less prone to being removed early on, and so I think that was a good choice. Where he didn't really know if the big game hunter was there or not. You know, why not go with the safer choice?
Yeah, and another Twilight Drake just gets thrown right back at him, dueling 4 9s.
Yeah, and now we're probably going to see that Mountain Giant after the life tap.
But a Silence is there.
Ooh, yeah. He's got another Iron Beak Owl.
So the Mountain Giant comes down now, and another Mountain Giant in hand. So I still think that the big game hunter will be the play here, but he doesn't have a Silence of his own. So unfortunately, he still doesn't have a good way to take out that opposing Drake. He's got the Mortal Coil ready too, so if he had the Silence, it would be great.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think he's totally fine with life tapping into big game hunter here and just getting rid of that 8/8. I'd be pretty surprised if he played his own 8/8. You know, that seems like you're kind of asking a lot from your opponent in terms of letting them to decide how things get traded.
Too true.
Yep, so big game hunter, yep, definitely going to be the play there.
Yep, and immediately cashing in some of that health, so that way the Azure Drake is not super vulnerable to Silence, and then the big game hunter can challenge both of these minions.
Yeah, that's a good point. Actually, the big game hunter can take down that Twilight Drake now.
Earth Entering Farseer is an interesting draw. He could use it to heal up his Drake quite a bit. Even if he did, if he used it to attack the big game hunter, it would be vulnerable to that Mortal Coil that's over there in Tides' hand, so that could be something to watch out for over the next turn.
I'd be inclined to run it into the other Twilight Drake. Kenny, does it have enough health?
No, it's got 5 health remaining.
Okay. Yeah.
It does have 5 health. He has access to a Silence, though. He has an Iron Beak Owl, but he doesn't have the Mortal Coil to follow it up, so
yeah.
a bit different.
Ooh.
Sylvanas would be an interesting play here. It's, you know, it does, I suppose, prevent bigger things from coming down the next turn. You know, I mean, it's almost like Sylvanas can act almost like Loatheb for creatures, where it doesn't necessarily make them more expensive, but it makes them unlikely to be played if they're really good.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And Sylvanas, though, if he does play Sylvanas, it wouldn't actually work out too well. Tides has a great answer ready to go. He would be able to clear it out and still play his Mountain Giant. So as it sits, I guess his Mountain Giant will still be able to be played, although it looks like there will be an Ancient Watcher left.
Wow, Tarei even has a Swamp Ooze in this deck, too. Kind of worried about some weapons coming out at some point.
Yep.
Interesting.
Well, the Mortal Coil is going to finish off that Twilight.
And would you Soulfire this 3/3 after you place this Mountain Giant? Are you that worried about it?
I think you're probably feeling okay, maybe even just attacking it with your Twilight Drake.
Trading it seems fine.
The question really is whether or not you feel like you want to do something like coin out your Earthen Ring Farseer to heal up your Drake. It wouldn't take it out of Shadow Flame range, but I guess he's not worried about Shadow Flame. As long as there's not something like a Power Overwhelming, he'll be okay with that.
Yeah, well, there's Hellfire, something that isn't really the greatest card in the mirror, in the handlock versus handlock matchup, unless you're using it to burst your opponent down at the end, which is a lot of times what you use Hellfire for in other matchups. Yeah. But that's going to be a card that's probably going to sit there for a while.
This is really tough for Tarei because he doesn't have a direct answer to the Giant.
Yeah,
without like giving up a lot of resources that he might not want. The only way I see he can take this out is if he silences his own Ancient Watcher and Soulfires.
Yeah, I mean,
you have risk of losing really important cards.
He's got Sylvanas in his hand, doesn't he? Might not be a bad turn to drop that.
Yeah, but then it's assuming your opponent doesn't have like an Ironbeak Owl and then just answers your Sylvanas, and all of a sudden it's just a glorified Stranglethorn Tiger.
Yeah, I mean, the question is, do you want Sylvanas to be silenced, or would you, rather have one of your taunts later on to be silenced? That's kind of the question here. And he may just go ahead and copy this Mountain Giant, too.
It is a play that he could make. If he copies it, he might be playing his Ironbeak Owl to kill the Twilight Drake this turn. That would also be an option that he has. He knows one Immortal Coil is already gone from his opponent's deck. If he just plays the Giant and life taps, he will be in a world of hurt because he's going to be getting crashed in for 12. And his Giant that got copied will get Siphon Sold.
Yeah, and his opponent's so far ahead, too, as far as having the ability to play Jiraxis later in the game, but going to play a little bit safer there.
Well, definitely still an option to play something like Siphon Soul this turn. And I wouldn't really blame him if he did. There is, unfortunately, 6 power on the other side of the board that would be unstopped if he did so. But he doesn't really have any perfect option otherwise. The Mortal Coil is already gone. If he plays the Hellfire, he can't play the Siphon. So he either needs to agree to reset the board or try to hold a slight lead, but leave some minions out there.
Well, he's got Jiraxis as well, too. So, I mean, a life lead means so much more to him because Jiraxis essentially can be like 15 more health. So if he can get his opponent down on life and his opponent doesn't have a Jiraxis to draw off of, then, he can maybe take a couple hits as he establishes and then still have a Jiraxis to rely on later in the game.
He could. And it's really just trying to leverage the cards that he has in the best way possible. He could even advance the board even further by playing another Giant. The risk there, of course, is having your opponent do something like Shadow Flame. So
right, of course.
That is a big risk, and if he does this, he may need to trade his Giant for the other.
Would you possibly coin Hellfire into trading your Giant now? I suppose you would have done the coin Hellfire before. Well, you can't do it before the Giant, so yeah, there we go. This seems reasonable.
Right.
Clear the board.
You wouldn't have had enough cards to play your own Giant.
Exactly.
So.
Man.
Yep, so the play you came up with right at the end is the one that he ends up taking. It leaves his Giant just barely out of Soulfire range, and I think that's why he agreed to do it. His opponent does have Soulfire, so that would have been pretty sketchy if it had just gotten outright killed. So.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you're going to play that second Giant, you kind of need to clear the board.
I don't see many good options here for Tarei either, because he's also sitting at a point where he has to be careful. Like, if this Giant just hits to the face once, there's ways for it to continue to back up its damage, and all of a sudden it's lights out.
Yeah, his opponent may be worried about the possibility of Moltons and might not want to put him right on something like 10 to 12 life.
But if he taps, he's starting to get within range where it's like if he doesn't have a direct answer.
Yes, this is really scary. Yep. He dies to double Soulfire here, so.
Yep, the Lotheb is the best answer to that.
Yep, I would not be surprised at all to see him play that. Again, you just want to deny your opponent the most options you can deny them the next turn anyway, so.
Then does Owl become lethal then? Because then you silence your own Ancient Watcher, and then the Soulfire becomes 5 mana?
If it is 5 mana, then you have enough mana to do that. Yeah,
oh boy.
You would need to draw an Owl.
I mean, I feel like it'd be a fitting way.
All right, so yeah, he's going to just preserve his Giant.
But then he plays his own Lotheb.
And he plays his own Lotheb, but not the Sludge Belcher, which is interesting. So now if he attacks into the face, okay, so he's not going to attack into the face.
Yeah, well, I mean, like you said, you're just a little bit too worried about Shadow Flame coming out.
Yep, so Lotheb is trying to keep him safe from some of the spells, but even Hellfire is pretty good here. Even a 9 mana Hellfire, it's not what he's going for, but next turn, I guess Jiraxis might be the play.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play Jiraxis, if he plays something like large minions, Sylvanas and Shadow Flame is going to be a threat for the whole rest of the game.
Jiraxis is such an awkward play, though, being at 25 health. I mean, you're essentially doing 10 damage to yourself, too. Well, I guess it'd be 7 now if Hellfire goes off. But
right.
Yeah, it's always risky to lose health going into Jiraxis. That's usually kind of like when everybody's cards are exhausted, then you bring it out. But
well, when you've got Jiraxis and a 5/2 and they've got nothing left but 8 health, and, maybe you just go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, it's gonna. I was interested to think about like what would happen after that if he Jiraxes. Then he has this ooze to shut down the weapon. By the way.
Well, it's Sludge Belcher number 2, which is perhaps not the ideal draw, but
If you're going to go into Jiraxis, though, you've
got 7.
Be pretty happy to have Sludge Belchers coming behind it.
He's 1 damage from killing his opponent.
he's really close. He should be really close.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow,
No, he's 2 damage. He's
8 plus 4
7
is
plus
12.
5. Yeah, he's
so
12. Yeah, he has 12.
Yeah, he
does have
1
12.
short. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I'd be surprised if he doesn't just push and go for it at this point.
Certainly seems that way.
And if he plays the Stun Fury Protector, he won't have any taunt givers for the rest of the game, but he realizes he's so close to just outright killing his opponent that he might go for it.
Yeah,
what
why
this might prompt is that Sylvanas Shadow Flame. He will steal the Sludge or the Slime, but that won't be that great even against something like Jiraxis. I am a bit surprised that he did go for this instead of the Jiraxis play. He would have been so close to killing his opponent outright.
Yeah, you take your opponent's ability away to life tap and stuff.
And they can't Jiraxis, they can't Alexstrasza. They would not have had a way to heal up, so
yeah,
you could have held the Soulfire.
You know, I suppose that's by the same token, though, you run the risk then of discarding the Sludge Belcher. And so if your opponent, happens to have a lot of burst,
Discarding the Sludge Belcher to what?
To the Soulfire in the hand of Tides of Time.
Well, but you wouldn't need to use the Soulfire yet. You would put them on 5 life.
Yeah.
With you having Jiraxis in play and a 5/2.
You can always wait to attack.
Well, now we're coming back from the theoretical and coming back to the
back
situation.
to reality. Snap
Had
back
a lot
to
of
reality.
time to think about that one, yeah.
Yep. Well, now we come back to the board, and it seems like Tarei is under heavy pressure. He's staring at 10 damage, so he has to do something. You suggested Sylvanas and Shadow Flame to steal the 1/2, but then you're giving up like 2 really powerful cards to affect the state of the board.
He's going to Alexstrasza himself, isn't he?
Alexstrasza.
Well, if he
thinking about
Alexstrasza himself, he is dead.
Yeah, and
Right. So
he's got to know that, too.
That isn't good enough. He actually doesn't have a perfect answer yet. This is why I'm suggesting something like Sylvanas Shadow Flame, even though all he steals is a 1/2. It does clear out his opponent's minions that he has in the immediate. You know he doesn't have very many cards left, and you're hoping that there are cards that don't immediately threaten to kill you.
And that does make the Alexstrasza to get back up to 15 health a lot safer the next turn.
It does, as long as your opponent has less threats in play. That's where you want to be. So
Time's running out. He goes for
the
Alexstrasza.
Alexstrasza. Oh no, but he gets the Soulfire. Okay, so he's not outright dead.
Well, of course, Soulfire.
Discarding the other Soulfire.
Discarding the other Soulfire.
Yep, so not quite dead yet.
He just needs a little bit more
able
damage.
to stop any taunt later. Siphon Soul is a nice one. He doesn't get to play anything else really crazy.
Huh? Well, now he's got 2 Siphon Souls.
Well, Life Tap is good. He gets to play out an Ancient Watcher too. So the threat, of course, of that Sylvanas Shadow Flame is still there.
Yep.
The Ancient Watcher might not end up mattering, but
But he's got confirmation that there's no Molten Giants as well.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true. If there would have been.
he knows there's no Moltens yet, which is a big deal.
Okay.
Well, the problem still persists. He's back at square one. He's still sitting at a potential way to die.
Yeah,
And he
Sylvanas.
still needs to address the board.
He could possibly Sylvanas Shadow Flame steal that Ancient Watcher.
Does
but,
he feel good enough to Ragnaros and taunt up?
I guess so. That might be the play here.
Just saw a Siphon Soul.
Well, he has Silence and Siphon already in hand, though. He has Siphon number 2. He knows it is a possibility.
I mean, as long as it... Actually, in fact, if he goes Ragnaros, no matter what, he dies because Jiraxis and Soulfire 7 damage.
Yep.
And even if it hits the highest target attack creature...
There's a lot of different ways that Tarei dies next turn.
If he plays Ragnaros and taunts it up, though, then Jiraxis isn't the way he dies. But there's Siphon and there's Silence.
Right.
So
yes, you're right.
he can siphon away the taunt minion and Silence's Ancient Watcher, and that would be good enough.
Okay, well, he's hovering over Sylvanas. Looks like he wants to go for the board clear instead. But you can't blame him.
It is also possible he'll just try to taunt up. That is something he could do, too. He could play the Slime and taunt up with the Sun Fury Protector.
Could even
Slime will
That's
not
true.
be able to kill Jiraxis' weapon, though. I don't know the name of Jiraxis' weapon.
Like
Any
Shadow
Flames.
Fury or something like that.
All right. So
Yeah, the problem with taunting is, like you said, the silence. If he didn't have it the previous turn, he would have been able to use it immediately.
Yeah, absolutely. So he could play out the Sludge Belcher now. It would let him life tap one more time, and he might as well try to get the card. Sludge Belcher is not the biggest threat ever, but he can still play the other Sun Fury as well. It would be most of his Taunt Givers gone. But if he just plays Jiraxis this turn, he's less likely to be able to outright kill his opponent next turn.
Yeah, now Jiraxis is looking a little bit less appealing.
Yeah.
Gotta say.
Well,
Oh, maybe not though.
Well,
maybe
maybe
not
he
the Tides of
disagrees.
Time.
and then the Ooze with the Ragnaros.
Yeah, it gets to take out the weapon. So
Yeah.
Ooze is actually going to come in quite handy here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, he greets him.
Greets
Uh-oh.
Jiraxis, but
Well, I don't know if Tides is going to be expecting this card from Tarei, as
No.
this Acidic Swamp Ooze is going to destroy a 3/7 weapon.
Yeah,
that is-
and
you just don't see that very often. And now Ragnaros is
Ragnaros
really going to
taking
get some
you,
value.
Yep, taking you down to 6. That's not good.
Yep, he's going to get Siphon Sold next turn, I suppose, but it's still a lot of damage.
Well, it means that he can't play. Well, he can play a Taunt Minion. He can play
Yeah.
the Sun Fury Protector, I suppose.
Oh no,
and-
11 mana Molten Giant.
Well, Moltens off the top for Tides are really bad. Moltens off the top for
But-
Tarei are really good.
Although he can discard the Molten Giant if he's getting good with a Soulfire.
It is possible.
That is true.
He's thinking about soul firing the minion. He is worried about dying here.
Yeah, I would definitely be worried about dying at 9 health. There's a lot of ways to do it.
Yeah. It is really unfortunate that he chose to play Jiraxis. If he had just life tapped and kept his life a little higher and played the Sludge Belcher, it might have
Yep.
worked out better for him.
It may have prompted a Ragnaros coming out then, and then he would be able to be in a better position.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Ooh,
Uh,
discards the
okay.
Sludge Belcher.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still going to have taunts next turn, but
Yeah.
that Sludge Belcher with the Death Rattle is a little bit safer.
He's going to try really hard to wait until he can play the Sun Fury and make 2 taunts at one time.
Yeah.
Wasn't that tantalizing? BGH can't target the 6/6.
And he's playing very not afraid. He life taps when he's at 8. And I have to imagine he's not going to just play the Twilight and taunt. It's only going to be a 4/6 if he plays it, and it will die to the opponent's 6/6. It's got to be Siphon, but he's of course he's realizing that if he just plays Siphon, he's going to be in the same position next turn with another 6/6 sitting over there.
Right.
Yep. And this
But
should
at
tell,
least he has more damage on the board.
yeah, this should
does.
tell Tides too that there's more than one Taunt Giver in his opponent's hand. Just seeing that Sun Fury Protector played like that. So I suppose you just make a big dude and taunt up.
It gets increasingly scary.
Yep.
The lower and lower Tides goes. He was worried last turn about dying to a 3/2 when he was at 9. Now there's a 2/3. Is he still scared? It would be the difference of playing the Sun Fury.
Right. And of course, Tarei has the ability to set up for a kill with the Sun Fury Protector, the Hellfire, and whether it's Soulfire or Power Overwhelming in tandem.
Are cards that he has access to, then it could get really scary really fast. He still hasn't drawn any Moltens either, and those could be a big problem as well.
So double taunt for Tides of Time and Tarei. Ah, nice. Defender of Argus is a strong draw. You can do a couple different things with that. You can play Twilight Drake and then Defender it up, although Hellfire certainly looks pretty appealing right now. He'd have to trade a Sun Fury Protector to do it though, so
He cheated his whole board to do it.
yeah.
Yep.
I mean, at least he puts his opponent down to 6, and he has a Sun Fury Protector once again to threaten.
He does. He does.
Defender of Argus is not a card that Tides has drawn yet either, and there's also the possibility that he will draw it and make an Infernal and taunt it up and have it just get BGH'd.
Destroying that weapon, I'm starting to realize is so clutch because of how much he'd be able to pressure to threaten just to kill over the course of a few turns attacking.
He really would.
Okay, Mountain Giant doesn't really change anything here.
And he goes for the clear.
Okay.
So now
Down
both
to
players
6.
are so low, and yep, that weapon being not there.
Faceless
So big.
Manipulator.
Well, Faceless
That's
is
actually
actually pretty good.
decent.
Yeah, he's able to get a creature out there and able to copy the 6/6. Wow.
That is going to be a really big problem for Tarei.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. He needs
Double
to set
hero
up,
power turn.
he needs to set up 2 taunts.
Able to heal himself.
But then
for
the Shadow
3/2.
Flame and the push through should be able to get him. So if Tides draws like a Power Overwhelming,
Well, he'll be able to
He's
heal
gonna
himself.
yeah.
right. So if he draws a Power Overwhelming,
Okay, yeah, so he needs 3
If
more
he
damage.
knows that, yes.
also he can Hero Power and Shadow Flame. So
Oh, he's going to go for the Mountain Giant instead.
Oh, you're right. Hero Power Shadow Flame. Yeah, he's probably pretty much dead here, isn't he?
Mountain Giant would be a pretty good play, but there would also be other things that he could draw in order to deal with that.
oh man, what are you trying to draw here?
Well, Mountain Giant Taunt, from what we know, is really the only way for him to survive
Well,
isn't it?
even if he heals himself and taunts up, he'll lose his board.
Right.
Oh, gets a
wow.
Molten Giant.
That is a big deal.
That's not bad at all, but again, okay, so he could Twilight Drake and he could Molten Giant.
And taunt up.
Yep, and taunt up.
He can...
Because healing
sounds like the best course of action.
Healing doesn't do anything for him now. He needs to go Twilight Molten and taunt that up.
And it will prompt pretty much just a trade on the board. And what this means is that it should end the turn with Tides just having a 6/6 in play against nothing.
No, I believe that's game because he can Hero Power and Shadow Flame.
Yep,
Oh, he
that's
So
can.
right.
Tides does have this game, and what an explosive
very
way to
nice.
start off our series.
Wow, yeah.
Not sure how I missed that. I forgot entirely about the 6/6 that he can make that turn.
Sure.
Very nice.
Well, that Faceless Manipulator on the 6/6 that he made the turn before really ended up being clutch. You know, that's what gave him the minions he needed to take it. And what a relief. What a relief to win a mirror match like that. Because things can really spiral out of control if your opponent gets a game up with handlock.
I'm surprised that Tides didn't really
Have 6. Although I guess Lotheb means it wouldn't matter, but sans Lotheb, something like playing the Houndmaster and Freezing Trap would be absolutely huge.
Interesting. Tarei was thinking about going for Houndmaster, but if he does, then the big Shadow Flame play is available to Tides.
Yeah.
In the meantime, Tarei also is thinking about whether or not do you want to start weaving in Hero Power every turn. That's one of the ways Hunter just starts winning this matchup very decisively because they can't escape from the 2 damage.
Yep, very true.
This does a lot of damage this turn too, though. He unfortunately cannot use his Shadow or his Sun Fury Protector with the Shadow Flame. If you had something like an Ancient Watcher, that would work out pretty well.
Yeah, that would have been perfect, actually. You know, one thing he could do, I suppose, is run Lotheb into the taunt and then Shadow Flame it. He could clear the board that way, but nope, just life tapping instead. He still has the option to Shadow Flame.
Yeah. And
there we go.
That is what he's going to do. So the bad news is he's down to 14. The good news is he's killed all of his opponent's minions up to this point.
Oof.
Oh,
okay.
that's kind of a nice draw with the Loot Hoarder in there. And then you'd have to probably guess Hero Powers to play. Yep. Interesting.
Well, Tides could use some cheap Molten Giants, but for now he's just going to play Stall.
Well, he's got 2 Siphon Souls, and even though these are not the most appealing targets ever for that, it will kind of keep his health out of the danger zone for now.
Well, a little bit. His opponent is holding a kill command, though.
Yeah.
So something like Animal Companion rolling Huffer would just end the game.
Right. He needs to draw into a beast, though.
Oh.
These Hunter decks actually don't have as many beasts as you used to see in a lot of other ones, so the chance of that happening a little bit less than we're used to, maybe.
That's true.
Well, that's a very useful card to have.
Iron Beak Owl.
Well, actually, this is pretty decent. You can now face this Manipulator in silence.
Yeah, that's just the perfect amount of mana. That turned out really well for Tides of Time.
A good sequence, and we see that Tarei is just drawing more non-beasts.
Ooh,
There's a
that
beast.
one's a beast.
How about that beast?
Yep, a beast that just keeps on giving.
The beast that keeps on beasting.
Right.
There you go.
Beast that keeps on beasting. That's a good way to say it.
And there will be no silence number 3 from Tides either. So almost certainly just the 2 Iron Beak Owls being his silences. Playing one earlier in the game, that Savannah Highmane is going to give up his little beast when he dies.
You and
for
Tarei
sure.
already saw Shadow Flame used, so, you know, by kind of process of elimination, he knows there's only one left in the deck, and not a great chance that it's in Tides of Time's hand. We know it is, but if I was Tarei, I would definitely hedge my bets on the fact that it's not there.
There is a board clear available to Tides, though, on the opposite side. Wow, choosing instead to go for less minions on board, hovering over Hunter's Mark, which could be very useful if he gets through this taunt, but at the same time, if Tides draws into Molten Giant and then taunts it up.
I would feel pretty uncomfortable about using Hunter's Mark so early because you know those big taunts are coming late game. The thing is, though, is that Tides of Time is already down to 9 health. You really just need to poke him a few more turns and the
Hero
taunts
power.
don't matter, yeah.
That's why I think every Hero Power matters a lot.
I totally agree, yeah. Just going to maybe end the turn, but killing that Sludge Belcher, taking away that 3 damage, giving yourself maybe an extra turn to use that hero power might not be too bad.
All right, well, it flips back. Defender of Argon is definitely one of the cards that he would be looking for.
Now, Frodan was right. There is a clear here. You can go ahead and Power Overwhelming on the Owl and then Shadow Flame it after you run into the Highmane. Although, no, you couldn't because then the Owl will be dead.
dies.
Never mind.
You can do it this way. Same difference.
This is the
I knew what you
better
meant,
way to do
Doa.
it. Yep, there we go.
We're on the same wavelength, buddy.
That's right. I'm still on Korea time, though.
This will probably prompt him to just play Defender of Argus this turn.
Yep.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, but now he's starting to push back damage.
Yep.
Yeah, a little bit.
And he's going to be floating in a case where his opponent's playing minions on the board. He can Siphon Soul.
Eaglehorn Bow.
All right.
Not quite what he's looking for. He's going to need a beast at some point just to finish off the game here. And his opponent will be at 7, and even that Leper Gnome in play will make it really close.
Well, the Leper Gnome is a +1 net health.
That is true. I mean, the thing is he was really expecting, I think, the some sort of beast to live. You know, he wasn't expecting to lose the Death Rattle, the hyenas from the Savannah Highmane either.
If Tides gets Jiraxis or something like that now, though, the heal of 15 is so clutch, especially if you kill off Leper Gnome first, heal back up to 15, attack for 3, and you start putting out Infernals every single turn.
You're absolutely right. That is the card that he's looking for. Number 2 might be something like Earthen Ring Farseer. He really just needs to buy a few more turns here and get something really powerful into play without just falling over and dying, which is definitely a risk at this point.
You know, I would imagine Freezing Trap feels a little bit tempting here too, but if you look at what might get bounced back, anything, and you have to kill that. Nothing's too appealing. He's just going to end the turn.
Yep, buying if the Owl were to go back into his hand. And all right, so
yeah, of course, you don't want that.
He does get to siphon away a minion.
Siphon Soul on a Leper Gnome.
He played it on the wrong side, so he doesn't get to possibly Sun Fury Protector on both of the...
Assuming the Owl lives.
Assuming the Owl lives, that's absolutely true. But given the circumstance...
Explosive Trap, so a little bit more damage onto his opponent. Still needs that beast, though.
All right, well, okay, so maybe he just doesn't want the Defender to get returned at any point somehow?
Well, you kill off 2 minions this way, and then let's see how much damage would be done. 5. Still not under a big threat of dying from 10 damage. Your opponent has to generate 10 damage from the hand.
We'll see. I mean, the thing...
The other option is if your opponent gets... What if he's playing 2 defenders? Now, that's not always the case. Some players have cut 1. But then all of a sudden the Owl gets out of range, and then your Explosive Trap is just another hero power.
I feel like he really needs to keep prioritizing hero powers here, and he is, you know, but you just have to keep doing it. You have to try to grind the handlock down at this point. The 10-0 health for handlock is sometimes really tough to get through.
Will it be something like Jiraxis off the top?
That is game-changing.
Well, that would be huge, yeah. That'd make a big, big difference.
And it's not something that he can life tap into either.
Okay, he's playing both traps.
Interesting. So now he can actually replay potentially.
But then he gets another bow on another charge on the bow.
Yep, that's right. And he played Explosive Trap first, and traps activate in the order that they were played as well. So
that's, to be honest, not a bad draw for Tides too. That sets up another taunt in the way. So next he can play everything this turn. He can play the Earthen Ring Farseer. You can taunt up and get 2 taunts. And you be back at what looks like to be 10 health.
Yep. It doesn't really matter what order he plays it in here. It's going to be kind of the same end result. As far as we can tell, it should end up with him having at least 1 additional turn. Getting the 2 taunts in the way is a pretty big deal. It does lock out that weapon, and that's a 2-charge weapon. So he gets to heal back up to 10 and make 2 taunts, and that's about as good as you can ask for.
That is so good for handlock at this point in the game.
How is he staying in this game? This game is supposed to be very one-sided.
He's thinking about taunting just the Ancient Watcher. So he's considering taunting just the Ancient Watcher, figuring that's going to be good enough to protect him because he wants to use the Earthen Ring Farseer to kill his opponent and doesn't want it to die just to a bow charge. He wants to attack more than once.
That is true. He'd like to get 6 damage out of that. Oh, Mad Scientist. All right, a little bit late to the party.
Max defense, and I think there may still be a Freezing Trap, but... Okay, Molten Giant's here, and that's a card that he very, very needed. At this point, I feel like he should probably just attack his opponent down to 10 and then play the Molten Giant.
Yeah, I would say just ignore that Mad Scientist. You don't want your Molten Giant running into that.
Well, if Mad Scientist suicides, he might give you opportunity to get a second Freezing Trap, balance the Sun Fury back in hand.
And
that's true, too.
That is probably what is going to happen.
Point.
So I don't know if there's really a way around that. At this point, life tapping would be pretty suicidal. So.
It would be. With Kill Command in hand, that'd be 6 health, and if your opponent draws the Beast, that's it.
Yep. Any non-Savannah Highmane Beast ends the game.
Tides
is really thinking about this. Also,
you really
do you
do
attack?
have to think about this.
You attack
you
this
could draw
Mad
Soulfire.
Scientist.
I feel like you just attack in for 2. Because then when they get the Freezing Trap, you'll be able to break it with your Sun Fury.
Oh, wow. I can't believe this. Tides might be able to turn this around. Depends on what Tarei has prepared.
the next 2 draws, maybe even just the next draw.
8 health left, and there's
a
the leper
leper
gnome. All right, well, we can hero power.
That does mean the game will end on the next turn after this one.
Well, be careful of what you say.
Well, I mean, by Tarei's next turn, it is a freezing trap, so I feel like either Tides finds a way to... Oh, wow, and...
Oh, he's his kill command there.
That should really tell Tides of Time what trap that is, though. He's like,
but I
all
like
right.
it, because now he's cornering this Molten Giant.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a Twilight Drink. He has to
tap.
tap into a Taunt Giver at this point.
He's like, is it misdirect?
I think does he even have Taunt Givers anymore?
He may have one more Defender of Argus. So he does!
Oh, Sunfree Protector. Wow.
Well,
But he's still dead.
Oh,
Hero
you're
power
right.
plus Leper Gnome.
Yeah.
The Leper Gnome does settle it.
You're right.
Oh, wow, what a finish. Tides almost was able to pull it out, but Tarei will end up getting this game. And we have ourselves a tied series.
That one
was so close.
Yeah, I mean, Hunter, you look at it and you're like, all right, yeah, this is a deck that should do well against
That's
Handlock,
crazy.
but Tides took it to the very, very end.
Yep, one turn later on the Mad Scientist, if that Leper Gnome and Mad Scientist had been drawn in the reverse order, Tides of Time would have a 2-0 lead.
Crazy. Well, now we get to see more decks from Tides.
All right, well, pretty decent opening curve for Tides. Northshire Cleric is one of the most problematic cards if Hunter doesn't have a bow or a direct answer.
Oh, definitely. And throwing back the Animal Companion, too, so really trying to go for as much early game as he can. And, well, he gets a Loot Hoarder and a Haunted Creeper, but neither of those are too great against this Northshire Cleric from Tides of Time.
I do think he was fishing for a 1-drop.
Definitely.
You have one less card to try and find it, though, when you are playing first. And he still could draw it for turn 1, but even if he doesn't, he might be okay. And wow, he gets
well, there
the
you go.
best one possible.
Man, that worked out about as well as it could have.
Well,
and, well, that worked about as well as it could have for Tides of Time, too.
The good news is that he can't respond with double 1-drop Death Threat out to answer it.
Yep. Tides of Time, though. Feeling pretty good with that Northshire Cleric. And at least this Haunted Creeper is going to come down.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
I suppose you do go with that.
If it does,
Well, Tide's got a sweep on the board, does he?
well, he can't kill everything.
Ah, you're right, you're right.
If the Undertaker had attacked, so now he maybe he can.
Does that change anything?
So yeah, he can silence first and now end up clearing the board if that's what he wants to do.
Okay.
Yep.
Or he can draw a card and laugh at his opponent.
Yep. So he feels a lot less threatened. So yeah, he is going to try and wait and see if his opponent can put even more resources onto the board that he can take advantage of.
All of a sudden, the start from Hunter has been completely neutered.
Yeah, he's still got a couple minions out there. He can't deal with this Northshire Cleric yet.
Now, while Pyromancer destroys everything.
It should, yeah. That should be about it.
And he's got Circle of Healing to draw cards, by the way.
If that's what he wants to do, he can do it. And he could draw a lot of cards and leave the Spectral Spiders in play. Or he could kill everything and well, not draw any cards.
He also can keep Circle of Healing as removal options with the Arcanite Soul Priest. Tides all of a sudden looking very good in this game.
Well, yeah, I would probably hold on to the Circle of Healing with the Arcanite Soul Priest. I mean, that's something that just comes in so handy later in the game.
Right away.
What's it going to be? Attacking into the Spider. And then Pyromancer, Power Word Shield is pretty tempting.
He also can Circle of Healing first, do damage, and then go for Power Word Shield.
I can coin first, too.
All right.
And he will.
I mean, the point is he has a lot of options at his disposal.
Yeah. Wow, just leaving the Spectral Spiders out now, though.
He can still Circle of Healing, too. Afterwards. Oh, he has a second
He has
one.
another one, so
Hmm.
he can kill them and keep both of his minions alive.
Yeah, I
Sounds
wonder
like
if
a
he
deal.
would have. I wonder if he would have done that if he hadn't drawn the second Circle of Healing.
Yeah. Oh, man. He's got sweeps for days. How do I hold all these brooms?
So cleanly. All right, well, let's see. Not the greatest hand, actually, for Try right now.
Oh,
He's
man.
got that Freezing Trap, and I suppose Freezing Trap hero power is going to be all he can really do right now. Yeah, I mean, it's not... Doesn't seem too worth it to kill
I reassure the viewers who are just tuning in now that Hunter started off with Undertaker and 2 Death Battle minions. Because it didn't look like the case now at the state of the board.
Yeah, well, Tides of Time had exactly what he needed, and he played it out pretty well. He's got a decent amount of damage to bring to his opponent, too. A little bit of draw from the Power Word Shield first.
Yeah.
And we'll see what he picks up. Well, get to listen to the targeting sound for a very long time.
It's a very mystical thing. If you hold your ear up to a wild pyromancer, you can hear the ocean.
That's right.
An ocean made of lava.
Oh, wow, look at that. He got the injured Blade Master. He can play it. He can play the Circle of Healing with this, too, if he really wants
Draw
to.
infinity cards.
Yeah, exactly.
He
This
will
is
go to
gonna
9
be-
cards.
And he will give up that combo, but he's
think you're
got
okay
such
with
control of the board right now. Is that really that
No,
bad?
actually, he will end up discarding a card on his turn because the Freezing Trap is going to end up returning
Oh, will he?
his minion
Oh,
to
yeah,
his
that's
hand.
true.
So he is going to
yeah.
give up something. It doesn't necessarily matter. It's not
Oh,
really
no,
that
he's
bad.
at 8 cards.
Oh, he's at 8?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought for some reason he was going to end up drawing up to 9, so I obviously miscounted. My apologies. Again, math is hard. It's been a long day.
Agreed and
It's
agreed.
true.
Okay, well, now all of a sudden, the priest is the one pressuring the hunter with a full hand.
I mean, sometimes
Oh,
with
gosh.
the draws Priest has, yeah, it looks like it can happen. There's a Leopard Gnome.
Yep. Well, full hand, big board. Freezing Trap number 2 is going to try to buy even more time.
So I suppose one of the ways the hunter could push back is to start doing direct damage, but then, because sometimes the priest is so focused on making sure their creatures are healthy and full health that they ignore. But wow, Tarei's just going to go for defensive plays, trying to send back this injured Blade Master, doing whatever he can to stop taking damage.
Yeah, and that injured Blade Master at 5 mana is
Yeah.
not going to be too appealing to play in the future. He's got so many cards, though.
Yeah.
A
What's
Sludge
it gonna
Belcher at
be?
this point would be quite a nightmare. But even in lieu of a Sludge Belcher, another injured Blade Master is also pretty bad.
Wow, and he just passes the turn, doesn't want to send anything back yet, or risk an explosive trap or something.
I am a bit surprised that he decided to play it that way. If he's not going to attack into Freezing Trap, it usually means that you want to give your minions taunt, or you want to wait until you have a smaller minion to break the trap. So this play feels a little bit strange, but it doesn't really end up mattering because there was nothing really
Oh,
man.
Holy Fire. Wow, on your 6 mana turn, and he can go ahead and do this and try to clear the hyenas. Obviously, one of these guys is going to be sent back, though.
Yeah, that's true. He does end up losing one of the cards.
So many cards in that hand right now.
He doesn't have Shadow or Death, which is the ideal way to deal with this high main.
Yep, he's got 2 Thought Steals, too. So that's going to be a lot of incoming cards a little bit later.
Okay, so send back a card, use one of your spells to do damage. All of a sudden this has gotten a little tricky.
Yeah, he's got so many options, but none of them are really... A couple are pretty appealing. No Silencer for that Savannah high main or anything like that, and he will just go ahead. And this will let him try.
he draws Shadow or
That
Death.
works, man. What a draw.
Wow. This is brutal for Tarei. Ty just has the perfect answers.
And I think he's probably going to try to run it in first and be like, all right, well,
Oh, but he doesn't
we'll
want
give
to
it a
play
shot.
it.
No, I guess not.
When are you going to Shadow or Death, if not now?
Yeah. Well, now he can't. I bet he wished he would have tried that, you know? He was thinking maybe it was Explosive Trap. He could maybe draw a card or 2 more, but no.
Well, he didn't attack last turn, so he must have thought it was Freezing Trap.
I guess so, yeah. Well, that's true. Well, then that's a good question.
Well, he
And
he
goes
just,
to face, too.
he just leaves it up, and I understand because he is, of course, still holding that Shadow or Death. But Loetheb is actually a big deal. That's a guy that stops spells. Even Shadow or Death, his opponent won't have enough mana next turn.
And then you get attacking with the high main and start getting back traction. But then, of course, that's where your opponent has cards like Holy Fire to start equalizing against. Still,
Yep.
a lot of pressure, and Tarei is not out of it just yet.
No, not yet. He's gotten Tides of Time below 20 health, which is pretty significant. Now Tides has a lot of spells that he can't cast this turn.
Yeah, I'm really surprised he didn't Death last turn. He would have had him down to just one doggy left. And instead now he's taken 6 damage, and it's looking really pretty scary.
Oh, okay. So I think we're going to see the Shadow or Death on the high main then, and Loetheb will die to the Pyromancer.
He doesn't have the mana to play Death.
Oh, you're right, of course, because of Loetheb, yeah. Oh, no, wait. Yeah, you're right, he does. He's 1 mana short.
Can he at least knock down this first body of the high main?
I don't think that he can. He just has to play a minion and heal himself.
Not with the spells being as expensive as they are, that's true.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have played Oknai Shadow or Oknai Soul Priest and then hero powered and then ran into it with his Pyromancer, but that's a bit convoluted.
Well, there's also another way to start curving out very well. Now, the important thing is next turn, Tides can go for a big sweep on the board if his opponent doesn't respond to this Pyromancer because he's got Holy Nova and Shadow Word Death.
Yeah, you need to be a little bit careful about overcommitting here. But the fact that he can put down the Undertaker and the Leper Gnome and then also taunt up the Savannah Highmane with the Houndmaster, that's, from his perspective, that seems like kind of too good of a play to pass up.
And it is a lot of damage in. It's really critical that Tides does have ways in his hand to heal back up.
Yeah.
Even his second Holy Fire is going to end up being really important.
How many people are running second Holy Fire, though, nowadays?
In Control, I've been seeing it about 50-50 in the lists I've been looking at. But before, like 2 weeks ago, it was definitely only one. Yeah. Which is very recently people have started running too, you know? And if you're going that late game, this was like the big Control versus Control thing. If you're going that late game, then yeah, I'd say you can run two. But right now, probably one is safer.
I mean, Tarei does have ways to just go for it and do damage, but he also can easily just get destroyed, and then, of course, his board is so fragile, just a couple of spells. So setting up the Houndmaster doesn't seem to be his ideal suit, and he instead just going to shove and put his opponent down to 12. I was going to say 9. Okay.
Yeah, not designed to attack for face there.
All right. Well, that is understandable. It's still going to end up with most of his board dying.
Yeah.
And even a Holy Smite. He doesn't have enough mana to play that and the Nova and the Smite, but I don't think he's going to end up needing to. It will mean that he has to attack with a minion into the Undertaker, but that's probably something he's okay with.
Sure.
And he even gets to heal up his guy afterwards. So this actually is a really, really powerful turn.
Yep.
12 damage is a lot to conquer, especially when all you have is a Houndmaster in hand.
Yeah, what's he going to draw?
He's all
Hunter's
That's a
Mark.
Hunter's Mark.
That
Wait.
is not enough.
Tides has Holy Fire, so that should be game, though, because he also has the burst from the hand.
Yep. Tides
So,
should have this. Let's see if he
Looks like
sees it.
game 3 should be going over to Tides of
Yep,
Time.
immediately to the face.
Yeah, he knows it, and that is it. Tides of Time puts himself one
Wow,
game away
one game
from
away.
going to BlizzCon.
Well
Tarei now.
played and well met, but at the same time, the last deck is still very difficult to get over. He is in the lead, sure, but there is a Miracle Rogue waiting on the other end, and that Rogue is deadly.
Miracle
Yeah.
Rogue. We haven't seen it do well yet at this tournament. Clearly, that means we must see it do well now.
I wonder. I mean, I'd love to see a game 5. I mean, interesting mulligans, actually, from both players. Ooh, and Shadow Madness?
Shadow Madness
Awkward.
is okay, assuming your opponent gets off to like a 2-3-3 starts to stave off aggression. But I think Priest would much rather be proactive than reactive in this matchup.
Yeah.
Because you need to start putting out threats that the Rogue needs to answer, and you want them to exhaust a lot of spells prior to getting their gadgets in.
Oh, wow.
Auctioneer, which has appeared in the hand of Tarei.
Well, he's also a rogue area Tarei so far.
And there was the opportunity for him to keep something like Backstab and SI7, and it's really tempting to keep those in your opening hand when you're the Rogue, but Tarei, he knows that this matchup very much hinges upon usually your 5 mana guys, especially Gadgets and Auctioneer, and he mulligans it away. He's rewarded by the Auctioneer showing up in his hand.
Very true. So, here we go. Shiv, the draw. And he will go ahead and just go and make that weapon. And Holy Nova, okay. Going into turn 3, I suppose Dark Cultist will be the play, and a little bit of early pressure coming in from Tides of Time. Okay. Yeah, not too bad. Shiv, all right. Drawing Shivs aplenty this game. So, again, a lot of spells in the hand of Tarei, but not a lot that's terribly effective at handling this board right now, at least not without taking more damage.
Well, it's fine. The Priest is not known to be a very bursty deck, and as much as you're afraid to drop too low, 15 health is still as equivalent to being at like 30 health. It's not like the Priest can just run out of nowhere and kill you unless you're running Leroy and the remote possibility of thought stealing Leroy. So with that in mind, I think you're okay using your health as a resource early on.
What about Stormwind Knight, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire?
That is true, or just...
I would like to say I haven't lost to that, but I have.
What about
Who hasn't?
Deathlord, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire?
Yeah.
That's 16 damage, man.
That is a lot of damage.
That's
the good
right.
news for Tides is that he is keeping the pressure up, and this is really critical.
Yeah.
He's had a nice curve of minions. He's played a minion on 2, 3, and 4. It looks like he might miss on 5, but his opponent doesn't really have a great way to kill the minions that are already in play. that means that even when he does make it to the Gadget Stand turn, he'll be fishing for answers instead of just trying to find the win.
Yeah, I mean, would this be a decent turn just to throw out Fan of Knives? He's going to Shiv first, and I suppose he won't be able to cast it after that.
Well, he's got preparation, so you can keep Fan of Knives in your back pocket for now.
That's true. That's a better auctioneer keep then. I missed the fact that he had preparation in there, so you're right.
I feel like the reason he would Shiv here is, for one, if he draws Eviscerate, he'll be happy about it.
True.
And he's got Leroy in his deck.
Wow.
Very cool.
Yeah, look at that. Leroy.
Can't get Thought Stolen.
Down but not out. That is true.
So now he gets to reset his weapon, is I think why he Shivved instead of Fan. Because he is holding the
oh boy,
Deadly Poison, so that's something that he can cast onto the
Is that for
fresh
real?
weapon.
13 health? Oh,
Yeah,
man.
he has been putting a lot of damage on the Tarei. This game has gone really fast for Priest.
All right, there's going to be
the turn, though.
Some deals need to be made here.
Sprint in his deck.
Sprint, look at that. Wow.
And
interesting.
He'll really be looking for something like Blade Flurry, Eviscerate. Oh, there's Eviscerate.
Here we go.
Yeah, here we go indeed.
That's one way to remove it, and of course, if he picks up another way to protect this Gadget's Hand, like preparation into conceal, then there's no way for the Priest to answer it.
Backstab.
Oh, and he even gets to kill all of his opponent's minions. So now at this point, if he ever picks up anything like Sap, it's just going to be really hard for the Priest to get a board where he can attack and win.
Yeah, that is actually a huge, huge turn for Tarei. He's down to just 10 life remaining, but he's managed to clear the board. Has he stabilized? Oh, there's Holy Fire, though. Oh, man,
Hold on, but he's got damage that he can piece together over the course of turns to potentially end the game if his opponent doesn't have Farseer.
Yeah, I think Sylvanas is a way to go. You silence that Gadget's Hand Auctioneer.
Right,
definitely.
Just think about it. If Shadow Madness gets optimal target, it's 3 damage plus 2 from the Holy Nova, and then Holy Fire can do it as well.
It's just such a big draw to have Holy Fire in your hand with your opponent at 10 health.
Hold on, I've heard this before. Harrison Jones and Preparation Sprint. Like, this is something that Tarei... Actually, yeah, Savitz was the one who told me about this. He lost to Tarei in the qualifier because of this deck, because of Harrison Jones being super powerful. And like, you get to Shadow Step Harrison Jones if you play the mirror. He even plays Alex Straza.
Very interesting. So there's the trade.
This is now enough damage for him to close the game as long as he can survive long enough and his opponent doesn't have any healing. He can use the Shadow Madness to attack for 3, and then Holy Nova and Holy Fire in the game, but it takes multiple turns to do it.
It takes 3 turns specifically.
He's going to Holy Fire first.
Surprised he Holy Fires first.
Well, because he's going to reach 9 mana way before he reaches 10.
It's not like Rogue can really heal. I mean, it's been a while since Earthen Ring Farseer has been a staple of Miracle decks. So
he's also got Alex Straza on the following turn. How is this going to line up, Reels?
Well, it basically means that probably Alex Straza is just going to heal up and end the game. That Loetheb is stopping him from casting one of these spells this turn. Alex Straza would not be able to happen next turn. So he would not have been able to survive until Alex Straza if not for that Loetheb.
Wow, this game is getting pretty intense here.
Well, it depends on how cocky Tarei might get. If he accidentally or plays careless, or if he finds a way to kill him in the next turn.
We'll see.
See, he's got double Shadows of Leroy. Can he piece together ways to do this over the course of the next few turns?
He may be thinking about doing something like Leroy Shadow Step. Leroy Shadow Step. This turn, he'll only get to attack with it twice, but he'll have it in hand, ready to go for next turn.
Oh, this is good, man.
This is the punish.
Loetheb's Shadow Step is so strong. To not allow your opponent to play spells for 2 turns in a row.
Especially with the Edwin in play. He's just going to make it as big as possible.
Yep, he's even going to backstab his SI7 agent, and that's okay. Van Cleef is like, this is what I was born to do. Be a 10-10.
Oh my goodness, so close yet so far for Tides.
It was so close, but
Sludge Belcher.
Loetheb will have locked him out of this game.
Yeah,
and
is that it?
Even
is that it right there?
That's still death. He can deal exactly
Leroy
22.
10 plus double Leroy, yeah. That is 22 damage, you're right?
Sap just
He can do a lot more
too.
than
Why not?
Oh boy.
Well,
wow, so close and such a strong start in this game from Tides of Time, but in the end, Tarei is going to BlizzCon.
He doesn't want to show off the Leroy.
I guess
no,
not.
Tarei is not going to BlizzCon.
No. You can Shadow Step SI7 agent?
Yeah, do damage, man. Yeah.
Tarei, it's 2-2 now.
Oh, you're right. Tarei is, wow.
Tarei is
I'm sorry, it's been a long weekend.
Tarei is 1 game away from going to BlizzCon.
I've been to the future, guys. I just got back, guys. Sorry, spoiler alert.
But a lot of people out there
we've got
are going to be
1
hoping
game
you're not
left.
right.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that now that we bring up to Game 5 and Tides will have to play Warrior, which is still a very tough matchup for the Warrior, but even more so when there's cards like are in Tarei's deck that can help increase his range potential to finish the game. And I think it really does depend a lot on how the cards match up. Are going to BlizzCon, who will it be? The end begins now.
It is a pretty top-heavy Warrior deck for Tides of Time as well, going all the way up to Ysera, but we'll see if he gets to use that. It's going to be tough in this matchup.
Well, he at least took a coin away from Miracle Rogue. That's one thing that's nice.
Yeah, it's pretty handy. I don't really believe Garrosh's sincerity when he says greetings. I don't think he's actually happy to see the opponent.
Nor do I believe he's actually laughing.
That is true. Sounds kind of fake. Yeah, well, 3 mana. Oh, and there is Earthen Ring Farseer in this Rogue deck as well, too.
Yeah, Earthen Ring is usually a common include to try and heal yourself up. Just one, and it gives you a little more consistency across the board.
Yeah, it was out for a little while, but it's back in again. And he does clear out that Armor Smith and, you know, gives a couple armor over to the Warrior, but you're not too worried about that at this point. Certainly not with a Rogue deck with Alexstrasza in it.
Okay. So tossing out to BGH, no fear.
No 10-10 Van Cleef this game, probably.
Well, that's what you never know, right? The Van Cleef felt completely uninhibited because he was able to use Lotheb, but say you didn't have Lotheb, and you know BGH is out. It's one less thing you have to worry about.
Yeah, it's at this point, though, you know there's going to be like an SI7 agent coming down or something, and I suppose that can soak up a little bit of it, but yeah. Might have been worth saving, but I'm okay with them tossing it down there. Oh, and it does actually take the second charge. Yeah, I guess he's going to heal right back up with the Earthen Ring, so...
He values his backstab a lot.
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, well, and he does have a nice curve now.
Yep.
He can use the axe, though. He can hold on to the coin, so he can sort of take his pick with what he wants to do here. He can use the axe, he can use the Death Spite, or he can coin out one of the 5-drops. All of these are pretty good options, and he decides to use the Fiery War Axe. So this is the one that causes him to take damage, but it saves his coin. It leaves the rest of his minion development for later.
It challenges whatever normally comes out from the Rogue deck around now, too. Oh, hold on.
Unless it's Lotheb.
Oh, yeah, Lotheb's a little bit tougher to deal with. You're going to need an Executor, something like that for it.
So he got armor instead of playing the Death Spite. If he had played the Death Spite, he would be able to kill the Lotheb with much greater ease, but it's really hard to anticipate that single card coming out for your opponent.
It's possible if he draws into a shield block, he can draw into a shield slam with it, but he won't do that.
Yep.
Not this turn.
Now is a bit of a tough choice for him. He doesn't want to play Lotheb necessarily yet. If he did, it would work out pretty well. Faceless Manipulator is just going to end up getting eviscerated, or maybe even something like Backstab
Good
plus
read.
SI.
Yeah, just trying to get the trade, though.
Yeah, he wants to make sure that he gets at least the trade. And this means that he may be able to... Well, maybe he won't be able to take out the Blood Mage so easily, but...
We'll see. And I mean, like we said, he can trade with Lotheb, but then where do you go after that? I mean, 2 damage to just take off the armor to get the SI7 agent out there doesn't really seem too attractive of an option. And Thalnos, yeah, I mean, he's nice to put out there as a cycle, but where you've got so much direct damage in your hand or the backstabs and all that, you know, why not wait a little bit? Because then those backstabs do 3. Yeah, I'd maybe hold on to all this. You may just want to trade and remake your weapon here, actually.
That's a really tough call, because then you give initiative to the Warrior.
It is, but I mean, anything you put down is just going to die. And, okay, he is just going to go for that. Take off the armor, get a couple minions on the board.
So he is dealing a lot of early damage, but for right now, the Rogue doesn't have much to follow up, though.
Yeah.
So this is a very scary moment for the Rogue player. If he gets to draw something like Auctioneer, and he has Sprint in his deck as well, those are things that could absolutely keep him in the game. As it stands, this is, again, very scary.
I have no time for games.
No time for games.
There is Sylvanas.
Got bad news, Sylvanas.
Oh,
Gaijin Auctioneer is nice to have, and that's important. Maybe not for this turn.
Well,
maybe for this turn. Who knows?
It's a nice draw, but then you think about the possibility of, you know, Sylvanas grabbing it, so you have to take out Sylvanas before you play this Auctioneer. Sure. It's just a little bit awkward.
But I mean, Fan of Knives removes it completely.
Wow.
Yep.
And even a prep, so the dream is starting to come alive for Tarei.
There you go.
Yeah, not a bad turn either way. He even got to remake his weapon at the end of that.
Yep. And he's got the coin. He can just slam Ragnaros.
Yep. Yeah, and Ragnaros is one of the best cards against Rogue because of its ability to, you know, either do a lot of damage to the Rogue that the Rogue can't heal, or take out things like Gadgets and Auctioneers, whether they're stealthed or not, you know?
Yep. Well, he does have...
Oh,
wow.
man. Sap off the top for Tarei.
That was a draw. Yeah. Well, Alex Strassa, nice for next turn. And is he actually just going to straight up kill this Ragnaros? I suppose he does have the damage, doesn't he?
Well, he could. It would cost a lot of life in order to attack into it.
Yeah,
assuming he doesn't draw into something with the
Wow.
prep. And it looks like he might be even committing to do it. So,
Well, he knows that Ragnaros is probably just going to come down again next turn to go for the 50-50 on the Auctioneers. So if you kill it now, that's still, you're right, it's so much damage. He's at 20 health right now, so he'd be down to 12 after
Right.
that. That seems like a lot to commit, and he will just go ahead and sap, it looks like. Yep.
Wow, he's picked up pretty much everything he needs. Preparation Eviscerate implies he doesn't even...
Oh my
he picks
gosh,
up Conceal!
well, so it is going to be Ragnaros coming down. There really is almost no choice now at this point.
Yep. And Ragnaros, he still does have that 50-50 chance to take out the Auctioneer. I mean, again, like I said, this is one of the things that makes Ragnaros so good in this matchup.
He's really going to have to hit it. If Tides doesn't hit the Auctioneer, it is going to be
That's
very,
right.
very hard to win this game.
It's a 50-50 to win or stay in the game, and it misses.
Ooh,
Oh, and
boy.
Tides is devastated. He realizes this is an important moment that he whiffed, and Ragnaros has not served well. In fact, quite the opposite. It looks as if Tarei has options for a long time to be able to deal with this.
Yeah, so what does he do here? Because the danger is that this Ragnaros is still out, and if you don't take care of it, there's a chance you can draw
But
into
he
Cruel
can draw.
Taskmaster and maybe win as
He
Warrior.
can draw for a while.
Certainly can, yeah.
In fact, he can
Oh,
remove
now
this
he can
now.
kill it. He
Yep.
can outright kill it.
That's right. He's got Eviscerate. He's got Blade Flurry.
And he can play a large Edwin to back it up, and there is no big game hunter.
Not anymore. Oh, wow. Even 2 Eviscerates. That makes it really, really easy.
Well,
And-
he'll have to decide if he wants to go for the Blade Flurry path or not. And almost regardless, this is going to be maybe even lights out for Tides of Time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
keeping
don't.
the weapon.
I don't really foresee a way for him to climb back like this without getting something big like a brawl.
That
and
is a
even
huge
then,
bank lead.
there's still many ways for the rogue player to strike back.
Yep, that is true. And Execute. All right, is there anything he can do? No way to really do damage to the board and proc that Execute, unfortunately. I mean, he can't run into a Death's Bite. He'd just be dead, but that's literally the only way he can remove Van Cleef this turn. Yeah.
Does he have the Death's Bite? And then go for like Sludge Belcher, try to potentially set up for Gromach finish. That's so risky.
I mean, you could also Death's Bite, hit the Auctioneer with it, and then play Sludge Belcher. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Looks like that's what he's going to do.
But then simply drawing a sap will end the game here.
That's right. A sap to go to BlizzCon. Shadow Step.
Wait, hold on. Is that enough?
Well, let's see.
Oh,
Leroy could run into it. He
I
could
think
run into
so,
it with
right?
his
Because the
weapon.
Leroy with the Blade Flurry, that should be 10 mana.
You're right.
I believe
think
Tarei
you're
has
right.
gotten his ticket to BlizzCon.
Well, let's find out. There we go. Yeah, plenty of damage through. And see, I told you, I was from the future, and Tarei is going to BlizzCon.
Unreal.
Off of the back of a nerfed Leroy 5 mana. What?
Yeah, he's making Miracle Rogue look good, and wow, after that, you can nerf Leroy all you want, Reels, but he's still going to send people to BlizzCon.
Well, Tarei making Leroy work, making Miracle work. No one else today could do it, but no one else had his flavor, his brand of Miracle, and he's going to BlizzCon on the back of it.
Yeah, very, very cool, and that's our event, man. I mean, we know everyone that's going from Americas to BlizzCon.
That's right.
Pretty
you know,
cool.
a pretty devastating loss for Tides, but he also gave a hell of a performance. One more time, give it up for Tides of Time, who's fell one step short in the top 8